Hello, Zinger Nation. Happy Thursday. I can't believe we're already at the end of March. And so, for the end of March, I wanted to give you some great workspace setups on Benzinga Pro for a few different trading strategies. Here we go. All right. So I'm sure, many of you probably follow us on our live trading shows. You've probably seen some of our other webinars, but I just wanted to give you a more condensed version of how you can set up Benzinga Pro for some great trading strategies, whether that's gap and go, day trading for scalping throughout the pre-market or regular session, and then an unusual options activity setup. So you can find out where hedge funds or institutions are buying or selling contracts with bullish or bearish sentiment. So, just to get started here, first of all, there should be a link in the description to start a free trial if you don't already have one. So, definitely check that out. And then you can open up Benzinga Pro here. You can see I have a few different setups here. I have Gap and Go, day trading workspace, and an unusual options activity trading workspace. And this gap and go setup is really one of my favorites. It's where I tell beginners to start, and I just use it. I still use it every day. And so, what you're going to do here is you're going to set up your movers tool on one side of the screen and your details tool on the other side of the screen. And the concept is very simple. We're just looking for stocks that are moving significantly within a certain time frame, because we know these are the companies that everybody's going to be looking at and talking about. They're already showing some volatility, and that means that they're going to continue to be more likely to be volatile, whether that's to the upside or to the downside. So in the morning, usually I'm using this in the pre-market, and I could use this to look for gainers and losers, or I could switch this over to just gainers or just losers. If it's a gap and go, maybe you want to see stocks that are gapping up, you could set that to gainers. Then this can be for the pre-market session, regular session, or after hours. And I'll set this for the pre-market. And then for the period, I have this set for the entire session. And then I have a market cap greater than 300 million, just to get rid of some of the micro cap stocks. Now, once that's all set, I can click on the filters button here at the top in that blue bar, and that will collapse those filters. So now I have a nice list here of all of my gappers in the pre-market. This starts as early as 4 a.m. Eastern time. So that's earlier than what's available on a lot of just a standard brokerage stuff. And so as we start clicking through here, we can see that it brings up those companies on the right side of our screen, and you can switch between the day chart and you can see the heavy volume coming in here in the past few days, or you could go for a shorter time frame like the past 5 minutes or 5-minute candles rather. So I usually like to use a 5-minute candles just to get the lay of the land in the morning and see what's going on in the pre-market. And that's really where I can start to use some of the drawing tools on our charts in the details tool to map out support and resistance levels, throw on some indicators like Bollinger Bands or some moving averages. And we can see here that if I throw on some horizontal lines, it's pretty easy just to map out those general areas that I want to pay attention to. And you can see here how it was testing up here around $11.50. So any of those reversal areas or consolidation areas that I think are going to be important to watch at the open. And more often than not, you will see many of those areas being tested again later on in the trading day. Like right here, you can see that it came up to what, 926, tested that, came back down, and then moved back up again and hesitated for a few minutes before breaking through to the upside, up and above $10. So basically, you just click through all of these, map out your support and resistance levels if the chart looks good to you, and then you can check your news to really see, is this a pump and dump situation, which really, if you can trade that, then great. But it helps to know when there's a serious news catalyst that can carry that momentum throughout the trading day or even multiple days. So yeah, that's pretty much the gap and go setup there. Just click through your gainers or your losers, check the chart, map out your support and resistance levels, and then confirm your news that can tell you more of why that stock is moving. All right, next up is the day trading workspace. So for any of you who are looking for stocks that are moving quickly throughout the day, before with the gap and go, maybe it's a bit of a slower pace. You're just doing your research, setting up for the morning. This is real-time, high-speed stuff. So I'm going to close this newsfeed tool here. We'll get back to that. But to set this up, you might say, well, Jonathan, this looks very similar to your movers tool. And you'd be right, because the scanner tool is kind of like the movers tool, but with more firepower, more filters that you can use. And then it updates in real time instead of updating every 60 seconds. So we can see here, I might zoom in on this a little bit. It's probably small for you guys on YouTube. There we go. And I'll just close the signals tool for now. This is one of my favorite day trading scanner setups here. And if I click on the filters at the top, then you'll be able to see my active filters. What I've got going on here is a day volume of over 500,000 shares. You could also add in an average daily volume of over 500,000 shares just to give me some liquidity there. A relative volume of at least 1.2, meaning that in the past 5 minutes is trading at least 20% higher volume than what the average would be compared to the past 10 trading sessions. So that's just nice to see that volume spike to see unusual volume there. And then a change percent in the past 60 seconds of at least 0.3%. That means it's taking off right now, immediately. And the last thing I would do here is up here in the upper left corner, I would change the refresh rate from every 10 seconds to every to real time. So I don't want to wait 10 seconds. I want that to be real time. And as you can see, this does update in real time, and it will reorder. If I change this to sorting by the percent change in the past 60 seconds, you'll see those stocks reorder, having to do with those filters. There's a lot more that you can do on here, like with the price and volume. You could do 5 minutes or 30 minutes instead of 60 seconds. You've got short percent and float on here, as well as some of these fundamental ratios. All right, so that's step one. You set up your day trading scanner. This is the best way to find stocks that are moving immediately, so you know right as those are taking off. Oh, one last thing. If you have a watch list and you just want to be paying attention to what's moving in that watch list, you can filter your scanner by that watch list with the reference filters. So you just click on reference, and then actually, let's see here. Oh, there it is, watch list. And now you can see I have all these watch lists here. So I could say, all right, I just want to see if any of my stock picks companies are moving, or I could add wins of the week companies, things like that. All right, moving on here. Just get rid of those really quick. I will go to the signals tool. So this is a different type of scanner. This is going to give me a chronological list of stocks that are moving immediately with something like those price spike signals or institutional activity where there are block trades or unusual options on the company. So really, it's good for keeping a pulse on the overall market or on a particular watch list. So you can see here it's giving me price spikes of more than 1% within a 1 minute period. And I could throw in some halts and resumes, highs and lows, or if you want day high series and day low series, where it's continuing to edge up in the same direction or down in the same direction. And then you have block trades of more than 200,000 shares and options where there's just a large option order on those stocks. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit here again so we can see what that looks like a little bit better. Now, there's a lot of data coming through here on the signals tool. So this is where, for me personally, I like to narrow it down by a watch list or by a sector. But if you're really fast, you can just keep track of the overall market with these price spikes, highs, lows, and institutional activity. But then if you want to filter it down, you've got the filters there at the top. You click on those and then add a filter. And then I could click on watch lists or sectors to filter by those variables and then select the watch list or sectors that I want to filter by. So now I'm only looking at my stock picks enhanced watch list, or I can add, additional watch lists to add more content to that feed. Then once this is all filtered the way you want it, you could turn on some notifications with a desktop notification, a sound alert, or a synthesized voice alert. So now you've got two different scanners set up here. And that's pretty much going to show you stocks that are spiking right now, some institutional activity, highs or lows for the day. You're good to go there. And then the last step here is to add in your news tool. And that's going to give you the real-time news on the overall market. So I'm assuming here that people are using this day trading workspace, want a lot of information. You don't get overwhelmed too easily. So I'm not going to add a lot of filters here right off the bat. The one thing I'm going to do is, you see how this says BZY here on the right-hand side? We're going to add to the BZY headlines and include press releases. So the default source is Benzinga Wire on the news tool, but we want to add in press releases so we can get the fastest possible information on new releases. So if I scroll down here, we can see some releases from PR Newswire, Globe Newswire, and many times those press releases will come out a few seconds or minutes before the manually typed headlines on BZ Wire, unless we have an exclusive news item. So that pretty much wraps up the day trading workspace. Just to reiterate, you've got your real-time scanner with a lot of different filters available. You've got your signals tool for price spikes, unusual options activity, block trades, highs and lows. That can be helpful. And then you have your news feed with real-time news. Any of these you could filter by a watch list or by a sector or by some other filter variables to really hone in on the stocks that matter to you. The next thing that I want to show here, since we're talking about the news, in fact, I'll just open up a new workspace here. I do want to make sure everyone knows about the exclusive news items on Benzinga Pro. So these are news items that are not available through other sources before Benzinga. You could click on categories here and then click on exclusives and market moving exclusives. And you'll see that if we go down through some of the headlines from this week, that there was significant volatility in a lot of these companies based off of these interviews that we had. So like Mullen Automotive, it looks like if I go over to news here, we can see that I think it was yesterday, we had yesterday afternoon, we had an interview with Mullen Automotive as a part of our EV list maker event. And then on the chart, if we switch this over to the 5-minute chart, or 15-minute chart so we can see yesterday. I mean, look at that movement yesterday going from what, about 225 up to above $3 in the afternoon there on high volume, really as a result of some of the commentary from our list maker event. So that's definitely something that you'd want to pay attention to. Is we hold many of these conferences where you can hear directly from CEOs, investors can listen, and traders can listen, and so pay attention to those types of interviews. Let's see what's going on here with Longeveron, up 87.5% since yesterday. And you can see how you had a pre-market day trading opportunity and then a few of these beautiful volume spikes throughout the day here, jumping again from $9 up to $12, retracing, and then pushing all the way up to $13 here. So this gave multiple trading opportunities throughout today. And if we go back and look at the news here, if I scroll down here, this was off of an exclusive news item. So at 7:30 this morning, we gave you access to this press release before anyone else. This is a market moving exclusive where they agreed to release their information to the public through Benzinga. So if you had Benzinga Pro, you would see that they had their publication of phase 1 results of this product for Alzheimer's in a medical journal. And then at 8 a.m., that's when the standard press release came out that was tagged with healthcare. So you had a full half hour here where we also had that biotech and healthcare tag press release as an exclusive. And if we go back to the chart here at 7:30, let's take a look at that 5-minute chart. If we go back right there, you've got 7:30, 7:35. If I go to a 1-minute even, I mean, if you're trading in the pre-market, this is pure gold, people. Where look, that's the first minute there. It comes back down a little bit and then moving on up. So you can see off of that exclusive news, you had a full half hour before the standard press release came out. Anyways, pay attention to those exclusive and market moving exclusive news items. Again, that's available through the categories filter on the news feed, and you would click on exclusives and market moving exclusives to highlight those or isolate those on your news feed. And while we're talking about the news feed, I just want to show you some more of these other filters where, in addition to exclusive news items, you could include hot, which are the biggest news items of the day. You've got things like rumors, FDA, contracts, buybacks, asset sales. So you don't have to search all over the place. You can just check these so that they show up on your news feed, and then you'll know exactly when those items are occurring and can really move the market. If you're doing what I say and click through those biggest movers each day, then you're just going to see a pattern. You'll just see, out of these top 20 or 30 movers, the same types of catalysts consistently pop up. Mergers and acquisitions, FDA approvals, contracts, strategic partnerships, etc. So this is a great way to stay on top of those catalysts and never miss out on one. And so that way it'll stay top of mind and right in front of your face on the newsfeed. And then, of course, you can set desktop notifications, and then you could screen it as well. So you could tell the system, you know what, I only trade stocks from $2 to $30. So I only want news on stocks from $2 to $30. Or maybe I only want to see news on stocks with a volume of at least 500,000 shares today. And that way you can really stay focused on the companies that you would actually trade. So lots of cool stuff there. Again, with the sources, you got press releases, SEC filings, and then Benzinga and some other languages if you want to use those as well. All right. Let's go on to unusual options. So I talk with a lot of people who are looking for unusual options activity or maybe options traders, and they ask me, how do I use Benzinga Pro? Well, first of all, a lot of options traders are going to use it the same way stock traders do, which is for the news, whether that's for the visual news feed or for the audio squawk with Charlie. But then we do have these large unusual orders, which we call unusual options. And there are some great ways to filter for these types of orders on Benzinga Pro. If you have a something to take notes with, you might want to take notes on this because this could give you some great setups with these filters that I'm about to show you. First of all, notice that I'm using the calendar tool. And then I have filters here on the right side of the calendar tool. So if I click on that and then I scroll down, we can see volume over open interest. And so I already filtered this. So it says greater than 0.1. So that means that the size of this order, the number of contracts in this single order, anything that shows up here in the table is at least 1/10 of all of the open interest, all the other contracts of that type that have been traded up to that point. So it's basically a volume spike. That's what we're seeing here for that contract. And then the second thing is trade value. And for this one, I put greater than 99,000. You could just add another 9 and you could say greater than 999,000 if you wanted just under $1 million. So whatever threshold is important to you, you can search for that under trade value. And then the last one here is, let's see here, trade count. And you can see that I have greater than 20. So this is basically the number of routes or market makers that were used for this trade. And it's also known as a sweep. So they had to sweep across the entire market to get the number of contracts or to sell the number of contracts that they wanted to for that trade. So if you layer these three filters together, that's what we use for one of our swing trading approaches called our unusual options activity strategy. And then you just filter or sort by symbol, and you can see where maybe multiple trades are happening within a short time period here, or maybe if you have the strike price and the expiration date close together here on your feed, you could see where an institution might be doubling or tripling down in a bullish or bearish direction. And let's see here. I think if I sort this one more time here, I think Target had some interesting activity earlier where this wasn't necessarily in a short time frame, but it was the same expiration date, a pretty short expiration date here, and for Friday of next week. And they're both buying calls on Target as the price was dropping. So just at first glance, this appeared to be a type of potential buying the dip situation where they bought it at $220 strike price, and then later at $215 strike price. And then you can see here on the chart where, let's see, one was at 10:47 a.m. The other was at 2:28 p.m. So if I look back, I might have to scroll back. So we've got 10:47. So after the first dip, they bought some calls. And then later on in the afternoon, they bought calls again at a lower strike price around 215. So to me, I'd have to take a step back and maybe look at the daily chart as well. But to me, that's saying that someone might be thinking that by next week it's going to go back up above the 220 area right there. Yeah, RJ, I see you in the chat there. The unusual options activity is an extra like 27 or 28 bucks a month with the essential plan. Just shoot me an email if you have any more questions about the unusual options activity or any of the subscriptions. Again, my email is jonathan@benzinga.com. I'm throwing that into the chat there, and I'd be happy to help with that. So yeah, you can actually find this strategy through the help site for Benzinga Pro. If you go to the help site, you can go down to strategy outlines. And then it's the top one there. We've got a simple gap and go setup, analyst ratings, unusual option strategy. You can click on that, and there's a link to a webinar. And I have all the different filters that I just mentioned right here that you can use on Benzinga Pro, along with some examples from that webinar. So definitely check that out. Also, if you're into options, there is an option squawk and an equity squawk. So I think I had Zunaid on earlier this week, and he does our option squawk. He trades options every day. And from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., we're testing out our new option squawk, where you can hear Zunaid call out key option flow. And I think a high percentage of those end up moving off of that unusual activity. So it's a great 1-2 punch. And he has a different setup where these filters that I filtered for might be more of a swing trade setup. But then Zunaid also searches for short dated expiration dates, where it could affect day trades as well. So yeah, hopefully this was helpful. We've got a simple gap and go setup here, again, with a movers tool. We've got the day trading setup with 2 scanners and the news feed. We've got the unusual options activity, where you can find some of those trading ideas. And then just one more thing about this unusual options activity. This sort of goes with block trades as well, or really most catalysts. These aren't trading recommendations. So unless I knew this company and the volume of the contracts like the back of my hand, I would not just follow this target trade, right? I would definitely want to do what I did and click on it, take a look at what's going on with the news on target. What does the day chart look like? What does the short-term chart look like? And it's really just an idea generator as a part of a broader trading thesis. So for any of you beginners out there, you will find some great trading ideas on Benzinga Pro, even some recommendations if you are a part of one of our mentorship plans. But always make sure that you're layering those data points on top of each other to build a stronger thesis overall. Chris here in the chat asking, who has a better squawk voice, Zunaid or Charles, and why is it Charles? So Chris, yeah, we were just talking yesterday with Andy about how sometimes he wakes up to Charlie's voice in the morning. If you just leave this squawk on overnight, it can serve as a nice alarm in the morning if you want to wake up at 6 a.m. or 6:30 a.m. Yeah, Mike is saying Charlie's louder. All right, everyone. Let me know if you have any trading setups that would be helpful for you if we covered those on this show. Yeah, the goal is really just to help you to learn how to make more money with Benzinga Pro. Be sure to start a free trial if you haven't already. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And we do have Ryan Faluna joining us tomorrow for some wins of the week. Thanks, everyone, and have a great afternoon.